What's up guys, Joey from Bulletproof for BJJ here. Today I'm going to teach you 4 simple exercises you can use to improve your guard mobility. Alright, so when we're talking about guard, of course, there's a bunch of technical things that you need to be looking after in your jiu-jitsu, but what we're talking about today is simple mobility exercises you can use that are going to allow you to express your best guard retention. A couple of the key things that we're looking for here. One of the first things with our guard is that we want this ability to pull our thigh into our torso, right? And you'll notice that the really good guard players can essentially close this space between the quad and the torso, right? If I can keep that sort of knee pinned to my shoulder, it's going to be very hard for someone to get inside of that when they're trying to pass, okay? So we want to be looking for mobility that's going to help with that. The second part is we want to bring rotation into the hips. So we want external rotation as well as internal rotation, which is going to give us this ability to pummel and be dynamic with the legs. Third part is that we're looking for some strength through these compression muscles. So we're talking about the quads, the hip flexors, the abs, the muscles on the front of the hip that are responsible for pulling us into this position. So when we're thinking about this, there's the strength on the muscles through the front, as well as the length or the range on the muscles along the back of that joint. So we're talking about hamstrings, glutes, and into the lower back. All right, so first drill that we're going to go into is going to be our S-mount sit. Now, this is also called a 90-90 sit, and it's pretty simple. The name says it all. Both of my knees are at about 90 degrees, and my feet are flexed. So I'm pulling my toe towards my knee. This is really important because if your feet are pointed, you might find that you get a little bit of soreness on the inside of the knee. So feet are flexed. Now, first one we want to work is the external rotation on this side here. So what I want to do now is try and square my hips to this shin, okay? Now, once I'm doing that as best as I can, I'm going to keep my spine long and I'm going to hinge forward over this shin. Now, it's really important when I do this that I don't just round my back and try to go deeper. I want you to lengthen the spine as much as you can, pull forward from the hip, and think about trying to bring your trunk, your torso, to your thigh, okay? We're gonna hang out here for 45 to 60 seconds. Now, if you have a little bit more experience with your mobility, you can make this more advanced by simply repping it out. And when I rep it out, I've now got more load in this leg. I'm not using the hands, and I might perform 10 reps, and then I'll hold the last rep for 10 seconds, okay? Now, once I've done that, I'm in a position to go into my internal rotation on this back leg. So notice what I do here. I've got my same S-mount position. I'm gonna bring both of my hands to the floor, and now I'm gonna try and sit this butt to the floor. Now what you'll notice is you can't get it to the floor. This side of your hip will be lifted, but to get this internal rotation opening through the hip, I need to try and square my torso up and sit the butt to the ground. This is a very awkward one. You're not going to feel this stretch in the same way that you would have felt the last one. You're not going to feel like a hamstring stretch or anything like that. It's going to be more of a joint capsule stretch. So you'll feel this kind of jamming right here in the front of the hip. Again, we're going to hang out here for 45 to 60 seconds. Now, if you want to make this a little bit harder, again, if you have a little bit more experience with your mobility, you can bring yourself, you're going to bend the legs to come slightly inside of 90 degrees. So I've closed up the position a bit. I'm going to come up to this shin, and now I'm going to rotate around towards the back leg and try to sit this butt to the floor. As I attempt to sit, I get the stretch through the inside of the hip and I pull back out. This is the S-mount lift. Here you'll perform 10 repetitions and you'll hold the last rep for 10 seconds. Now, if you're new to this, don't even bother with that variation. Just work here in the static option, build this awareness, and then over time you can progress it, okay? So once I've done both sides, all I need to do then is simply swap my legs, square the hip, flex the feet, and I repeat on the other side, okay? Doing both my external rotation on this leg and then my internal rotation on this side. All right, so now we want to build some range through the back of the hip. So really this is going to be hamstrings and a little bit the glute. So for this, we're going to start with an elephant walk, and we're just going to place our hands on the wall. Now keep in mind, the lower your hands are, the harder this will be. So we can just start here where I'm able to get more or less flat palms. And all I need to do is step my legs back a little bit, and I'm simply going to lock my knee. So I'm taking my knee into extension, squeezing my quad, and then I'll release that and I'll swap to the other side. And I'm just gonna work through the repetitions here. Now, generally when you start this, it'll feel a little bit tight at first, and then as you proceed through the set, it should start to open up. Now, of course, if this is too easy for you, you could go lower. If you had a little bench or something, that might be handy. But you can even come down onto the fingertips, or if you're a real gangster, you can go flat palms. And again, I just want to keep it at a range that I'm comfortable in. I want to feel the stretch, but I'm not trying to go super intense at this point, okay? Because we're going to do a couple of sets. Now you notice I extend that knee and I squeeze the quad. We're going to work for 20 repetitions alternating sides here. So that'll be about 10 reps, or exactly 10 reps on each side. Now, I'm going to give you a more advanced option, and this is for those of you who feel pretty fine with the elephant walk. Elephant walk might be all you need, but if you just want something else to play with, I really like this variation. It's called the single leg pike. And I like this because you get more load into the stretch. The way we do this, I place one foot against the wall, so my heel is touching the wall. I then place heel to toe with my other foot, and that other foot is the one that I'm going to be stretching. So now all I need to do is bend my knees, place hands to the ground, and I place this shin to the wall behind me. From here, I'm going to lock this knee. Now, I like to hang out in this position and just stay in the stretch with the knee locked. You could work repetitions similar to the elephant walk where you unlock and then lock the knee. It's really up to you. But while I'm doing this, I'm thinking about pulling myself towards the floor. I'm trying to connect my belly to my thigh, okay? I'm trying to build that connection between the thigh and the trunk. 45 to 60 seconds here, or you could work 10 reps or thereabouts. Now again, if you have a little bench or something like that and you're not able to get the hands on the floor yet, use the bench, and then over time you can hopefully progress to the ground. All right, so we've opened up our hip rotation, we've opened up the hamstrings. Now we're going to build a bit of strength through the front of the hip here. And to do this, I'm going to work a standing knee raise. Now all I want to do is get one foot about a foot length or maybe a little bit less from the wall. I'm trying to stay as upright as I can, back against the wall, and now I'm going to pull my knee as high as I can. Now while I'm doing this, I'm thinking about contracting my quads, my hip flexors and my abs to pull this knee to my shoulder, okay? Now, if I'm working this maximally, it's a really tough drill. If I'm just kind of chilling here and just holding my knee up, it's not a big deal. So it's important that you're actively trying to pull that knee into your shoulder for the full 20 seconds. Once I've done that, I will repeat on the other side. Now, if you're looking for a harder variation of this, you can have a play with the straight leg variation. So for that, you would pull the knee to the chest, and then you would look to lengthen the leg without letting the knee drop. Now what you'll notice when you do that is your quads are likely gonna cramp, and that's totally okay. You're in there for 20 seconds. The goal is to stay in there. The reason it's cramping is because you're at an end range and you're trying to contract those muscles. So it's a very challenging position. The more you practice it, the better you'll get at it. And like I said at the start of the video, being able to have strong compression strength is key to having this great guard retention positioning. So again, we want that combination of stretching through the backside and strengthening the compression on the front side. So there you go, guys. That is a simple mobility routine that's going to help you improve your guard retention. I would suggest you perform this routine for at least one set, but ideally 3 sets, and you would do it before training. So come into the gym as part of your warm-up before you get into class. You would go through this routine. It's going to give you the greatest range and the greatest activation so that when you start the class, you can express your guard to its absolute highest potential. If you want more help with your strength or mobility, we have the programs for you. You can go to bulletproofforbjj.com. Hope to see you on the inside. Us.